The smell hits you before the pain does. Sulfur, ash, something burnt you stopped naming a long time ago. You open your eyes to black rock, dripping ceiling, orange dark. You are awake. In Mordor, that is never good news. And today, something is going to break. Your name is Grat. Whether that is a name or an insult in black speech, you stopped asking. Asking costs teeth. You are Snaga. The word means slave in the tongue Sauron himself shaped in the dark years, a language built for commands, for binding, for the coordination of armies. You were not taught words for anything else. You are small, even by your own reckoning. The Uruks in this garrison stand nearly the height of men, broad, black-armored, bred for war. That is not you. You were bred for the cart line, for the tunnel, for surviving the things that kill the ones weaker than you. So there is always a Snaga available when the captains need a body. You drag yourself off the stone floor. Your back carries the deep, bruised ache of yesterday's slag haul and the day before that, and every day before that, stacked like weight that never leaves. Outside, the plateau of Gorgoroth stretches in every direction like a wound in the earth. The fires of Orodruin bleed orange into a sky that has not been blue in living memory. The mountain groans sometimes. The older orcs say it groans because he is restless. You believe them. There is a pressure behind your eyes that is not quite pain and not quite thought, a sense of being observed from a direction that does not exist. You learned early not to dwell on it. In Mordor, that is the only wisdom available to you. Today you are on the ore carts, 40 of you. Mostly Snagas, 2 Uruk overseers with iron-shod rods that they carry. Not to direct you, the route never changes, but because it is the only language you were taught to understand. Load the slag cart at the pit mouth, haul it to the smelting trench, unload, return. The iron tears through your hand wraps inside an hour. By midday, your palms are bleeding. They always are. By the third circuit, your mind empties out. This is the only mercy Mordor offers, that the body can work while the self goes somewhere else entirely. You stop thinking about the eye. You stop thinking about Barad-dûr rising black at the eastern edge of the plateau, its windows glowing like wounds in the sky 40 miles out. You become nothing but your legs and your bleeding hands and the rhythm of stone on stone. Then midday comes. Rations, gray bread, something that was once meat. You eat fast. A Snaga who lingers loses food, and you know precisely how long your body runs on nothing before your hands start shaking on the handles. There is a young one ahead of you in the queue. The others call him Grub. He moves too slowly. You never learn why the overseer chooses this moment. There is no why in Mordor, only the rod, and the rod comes down. Grub drops. He does not cry out. None of them do, after the first time. He looks up from the ground with eyes that still expect it to make sense. You recognize that look. You wore it once, before you learned. You step over him. You take your ladle. You eat. And that, not the bleeding hands, not the slag, not the overseer's rod, that is the worst thing you will do today. The stepping over, the not looking back. Mordor did not make you cruel with violence. It made you cruel with exhaustion, with the flat arithmetic of survival, with the 10,000 small surrenders that add up over time to a person you no longer examine too closely. You eat your gray bread. You do not look at him. It comes in the afternoon. No warning. You are on your 7th circuit, mind empty, hands numb. And then the eye moves. You cannot see it from here. Barad-dûr is 40 miles east, and the permanent haze of ash and volcanic smoke swallows everything beyond the next ridge. But the eye does not need a line of sight. That is what the older orcs never explained properly and what you understood anyway the first time it happened. The eye is not looking from somewhere. It is not a searchlight sweeping the dark. It is a presence, a weight of will so old and so vast it presses on the world the way the mountain presses on the rock beneath it. The whole cart line stops. Every Snaga, every Uruk, even the overseers lower their rods and turn involuntarily eastward, because when he looks, even generally, even sweeping across the whole of Mordor in search of something else entirely, you feel it like a hand closing around the back of your skull. The feeling says, I know you are here. The feeling says, you are mine. 20 seconds, maybe less. Then it passes. The overseers raise their rods. The line moves. You clench your bleeding hands around the cart handles until the shaking stops. Across the cart, Grubb catches your eye for just a moment. He is back on his feet, limping, working, and you both look away immediately. Looking at each other after the eye passes is too much like admitting you were both afraid, and fear, in Mordor, is as dangerous as defiance. There is something you do not tell anyone. In the deepest part of the night, when the garrison is as close to silent as it ever gets, you try to remember. Not the day's work, not tomorrow's cart line, something further back than that, further back than you have words for. The lore says, though you will never hear it spoken, that orcs were not made. They were unmade. In the First Age, before the sun existed, Morgoth captured elves in the dark and broke them over long ages into something that served him. Every orc walking the face of Arda carries, somewhere impossibly deep, the shadow of what was taken. You do not know this history. You were not taught it. But sometimes in the dark, you feel something that has no name in the language you were given. A reaching. Like a note of music heard through stone, so distorted it barely registers, so faint you cannot be certain it is real. You were given black speech, harsh, functional, built for orders and insults and the binding of servants. You have no word for longing, you have no word for grief. You have in your entire vocabulary no way to say, I was made from something that was not this. So the feeling comes and passes without a name. You turn over on the stone. Somewhere beyond the Efelduth, beyond the Anduin, beyond everything, the world exists in a form that has nothing to do with you and never will. You do not know that. But sometimes your hands stop hurting for a moment, and you don't know what to do with that either. Morning comes the same way it always comes here. It doesn't. There is no sunrise in Gorgoroth. There is a lightening of the permanent haze, a shift from orange-black to gray-orange, and the work horn sounds, and you stand up from the stone floor, and your back aches, and you wrap your torn hands in fresh leather, and you go to the cart line. Grubb is there, limping still. He does not look at you. You do not look at him. The overseer raises the rod. You walk. This is not the darkness of the stories that reach men and elves, the armies at the Black Gate, the Nazgul screaming above the Pelennor on their fell beasts, the great eye blazing atop Barad-dûr on the day the mountain breaks and the ring is unmade. That is the story told from the outside, the story that ends in fire and salvation and names remembered forever. You are not in that story. Your story is the slag cart, the gray bread, the bleeding hands. The eye passes over you like a cold wind and moving on to something that matters more. Your story is stepping over the boy on the ground. Somewhere in the west, 9 walkers are deciding the fate of the world. Somewhere in the west, the smallest and most ordinary things are holding back the dark through nothing but stubborn love and the refusal to quit. You are what they are holding it back from. You did not choose it. You load the cart.